You know, there's always this big debate in the industry about whether games are trying too hard to be movies. People say gameplay should be king, and usually I agree. But every now and then, a game comes along that blurs that line so perfectly, you forget you're holding a controller. We're talking about those massive blockbuster experiences where the story and the visuals are so high quality, it feels like you're directing the action yourself. Hi folks, welcome to CryptoMac, and today on this video, 18 best games that play like a movie. Okay, so first up, if you are looking for the gaming equivalent of a Michael Bay movie, but with a much smarter script, this is it. The Modern Warfare campaign is a masterclass in linear pacing, refusing to let the player get bored for even a second. One moment you are leading a sniper assault in the desert, and the next you are surviving a terrorist attack in downtown London. The variety of scenarios is staggering, ensuring that you never do the same thing twice. It treats its campaign like a prestige TV miniseries with high production values and A-list voice acting. The sound design deserves a special mention because the crack of the gunfire and the explosions sound terrifyingly loud and violent. It creates a chaotic atmosphere where you feel like a small cog in a massive war machine. The characters, especially the reimagined Task Force 141, have genuine chemistry and banter that feels natural. It blurs the line between cutscene and gameplay so effectively that you often don't realize you have control. The lighting engine is spectacular, especially during the night missions where shadows play a huge role in the gameplay. It doesn't demand you to be good at multiplayer, it just asks you to experience the ride. It is a tight, explosive, and visually jaw-dropping journey. It remains the gold standard for FPS campaigns. Coming in next, before we got Detroit Become Human, Quantic Dream released this dark, rain-soaked noir thriller that essentially defined the interactive movie genre on consoles. It plays out like the darker cousin of the movie Seven, forcing you to hunt down the elusive origami killer. The atmosphere is oppressive and heavy, with the constant downpour setting a mood of hopelessness that seeps into every scene. You control 4 different characters, each desperate to solve the mystery before another child drowns. What makes this feel so cinematic is the genuine sense of danger. If a character dies, they stay dead. The game doesn't reload a checkpoint. The story simply reshuffles and continues without them, changing the ending dramatically. You aren't just watching a mystery unfold. You are actively piecing together clues with FBI profiling tools and private eye intuition. There are moments of high-octane action, but the real tension comes from the quiet, terrifying choices you have to make. The quick-time events are designed to mimic physical struggle, making your hands cramp up during intense fight sequences. It uses split-screen effects during conversations and searches, a technique borrowed straight from classic suspense cinema. The central question, how far will you go to save someone you love, isn't just a tagline, it is the core gameplay loop. You will find yourself doing things in a video game that make you genuinely uncomfortable, all for the sake of the story. It is a psychological thriller that drags you through the mud and demands you earn your happy ending. Even years later, the plot twist remains one of the most talked about moments in gaming history. So next up, actually we cannot talk about games that play like movies without mentioning the absolute directorial flex that is God of War. The decision to film the entire game as a single, continuous, no-cut shot isn't just a technical gimmick. It fundamentally changes how you experience the story. The camera never blinks, never cuts away to a loading screen, and never leaves Kratos' side, forcing you to live every second of his journey in real time. It creates a sense of intimacy and claustrophobia that makes the explosive action feel incredibly grounded and visceral. When you transition from a quiet boat ride listening to Mimir's stories directly into a boss fight with a stranger, the lack of a cut keeps your adrenaline spiking. Christopher Judge gives a performance that honestly deserved an Oscar, conveying volumes of emotion with nothing but a grunt or a weary sigh. The relationship between Kratos and Atreus evolves naturally over the runtime, mimicking the pacing of a tightly written film script. It turns a franchise known for mindless violence into a thoughtful meditation on fatherhood and regret. The visuals are stunning, from the snowy peaks of Midgard to the colorful realms beyond, looking better than most CGI in theaters. It proves that video games can handle complex, mature themes without sacrificing the fun of throwing a magical axe. It is a masterpiece of visual storytelling that demands to be played. Coming in next, so when this game was announced, a lot of people were skeptical, but it turned out to be one of the best narrative surprises of the last few years. Honestly, the writing here rivals and in some emotional moments even surpasses the actual James Gunn movies. You play exclusively as Star-Lord, which sounds limiting, but it is a brilliant design choice that forces you to focus entirely on leading this dysfunctional family. The banter is absolutely relentless. The characters never stop talking, arguing, or cracking jokes, making the world feel incredibly alive. It captures that specific chaotic energy where everyone is shouting over each other during a life-or-death situation. But beneath the comedy, there is a surprisingly tear-jerking story about grief and accepting loss that hits very hard. The way the game handles Drax's literal interpretation of everything or Rocket's deep-seated insecurities is masterful. You have dialogue choices that actually shift the team's mood, making you feel like the glue holding them together. It's a linear, single-player experience with zero live service bloat, just pure storytelling focus. The facial animations, especially during the quieter moments on the ship, are top tier. It feels like binge-watching an entire season of a high-budget sci-fi show. By the end, you care about this version of the team just as much as the movie versions. It is a hilarious, heartfelt ride that absolutely nails the cinematic vibe. Next on the list, we have Telltale's The Walking Dead. Most zombie games are about headshots and survival counts, but Telltale decided to create a game about the politics of a starving group of strangers. You are constantly forced to mediate arguments where there is no right answer, only the least bad option that leaves half the group hating you. The inclusion of a timer on dialogue choices was a revolutionary piece of design that adds genuine panic to simple conversations. You simply don't have time to calculate the best outcome. You have to react on instinct, which reveals a lot about who you are as a player. The illusion of choice is handled masterfully here, making you feel the crushing weight of leadership even when the tragedy is inevitable. It strips away the power fantasy of the genre and replaces it with vulnerability, regret, and helplessness. You will have to decide who eats today, who gets left behind to die, and who you trust with a gun. These moments are far more stressful than any traditional boss fight because the consequences are emotional rather than mechanical. The pacing is strictly episodic, designed to leave you on a cliffhanger that makes you desperate to start the next chapter immediately. It acts as a psychological test disguised as an adventure game. It demands that you live with your regrets. Coming up next, we have Until Dawn. Sony really flexed their budget with this one, hiring legit Hollywood talent to create the most authentic interactive horror movie ever made. You have recognizable stars like Rami Malek and Hayden Panettiere delivering full motion capture performances that look incredible even years later. The facial animation technology captures every terrified eye twitch and scream, bridging the gap between game and film. The setting itself, a snowy mountain lodge isolated in a storm, is rendered with chilling beauty and atmosphere. The sound design is a character in itself, with creaking floorboards and howling wind that will make you check over your shoulder in real life. It plays out like a high-end mini-series, complete with previously on recaps at the start of each chapter. The game understands the rhythm of horror, giving you moments of quiet exploration before hitting you with a loud, chaotic chase sequence. It respects the genre's history while using the medium of video games to make the terror feel personal. You feel responsible for these characters in a way you never do when just watching a film. The camera work mimics the voyeuristic style of classic horror, making you feel like you are being watched constantly. It is a polished, slick, and terrifyingly fun experience that set the bar for the genre. It is the perfect definition of popcorn horror brought to the PlayStation. Next up, we have The Last of Us Part 1. So the term masterpiece gets thrown around a lot, but this is one of the few instances where it is undeniably earned. It transcends the zombie apocalypse genre to tell a deeply intimate story about a broken man learning to be a father again. The performances by Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson are so nuanced that you can read their thoughts just by looking at their digital faces, especially in the remake's updated engine. It's a road trip movie at its core, moving from the quarantine zones of Boston to the wilds of Utah. The script avoids melodramatic speeches in favor of grounded, realistic dialogue that feels improvised and natural. You watch the relationship between Joel and Ellie shift from hostility to dependency in a way that feels completely earned. The violence isn't cool, it's desperate, messy, and ugly, reinforcing the brutal reality of their world. Every encounter with the infected or human hunters serves the narrative, pushing the characters to their breaking points. The game refuses to give you easy answers, culminating in an ending that people still debate furiously over a decade later. It treats the player with maturity, trusting you to understand the subtext without spelling it out. This isn't just a game you play, it's a tragedy you experience. It sets the bar for what digital acting can achieve. Coming in next, video games often struggle to balance a massive open world with a tight linear script, but Spider-Man 2 solves this by treating New York City as a living film set. The narrative pacing here is relentless, refusing to let you get bogged down in fetch quests when there is a world to save. The central conflict revolves around Harry Osborn grounding all the sci-fi madness in a very human story about friendship and sickness. It's this emotional anchor that makes the action scenes feel heavy and consequential rather than just mindless spectacle. When punches are thrown in this game, they carry the weight of the story behind them, especially when the symbiote gets involved. Yuri Lowenthal's voice acting deserves massive praise for shifting from a heroic tone to something genuinely menacing. The game also creates seamless transitions between the two Spideys, allowing for team-up moves that look like they were pulled straight from a storyboard. It's a visual feast that utilizes ray tracing and particle effects to make every sunset and neon light look photorealistic. You play this game to feel like a hero, but you stay for the tragedy and triumph of the script. It proves that you don't need a movie theater to experience a blockbuster event. It is a masterpiece of digital storytelling. Now at number 10, we have Ghost of Tsushima. While the swordplay is excellent in this game, the heart of this game lies in its central narrative conflict between honor and survival. You play as Jin Sakai, a samurai who must decide whether to maintain his honorable code or use cowardly stealth tactics to save his home. This internal struggle is reflected in every gameplay choice you make, turning the mechanics into a storytelling device. The relationship between Jin and his uncle, Lord Shimura, serves as the emotional anchor, representing the clash between tradition and necessity. The writing is understated and somber, avoiding the bombast of typical action games for a more grounded tone. You watch a hero slowly become a monster in the eyes of the people he loves, which is a powerful narrative arc. The side quests are not just filler, they explore the tragic toll the invasion takes on the common people. The voice acting, particularly in the Japanese dub, brings a grave seriousness to the proceedings. It explores the idea that sometimes doing the right thing means losing everything that defines you. The final duel is widely considered one of the most emotionally difficult boss fights in gaming history. It is a somber, reflective journey that stays with you long after the credits roll. So next up, we have Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. They called this an independent AAA game, and I think that is the perfect description for what Ninja Theory achieved here. It has the visual fidelity of a massive budget title, looking better than most full-priced games, but it takes creative risks that a big studio would never allow. You are following a Celtic warrior into Viking hell to save her lover's soul, which is already a pretty metal concept on its own. But the real battle is happening in her mind, right? The darkness isn't some external monster you can kill, it is her own trauma manifesting as demons and shadows. I mean, the facial motion capture is hands down some of the best ever recorded in the medium. You can see every grimace, every twitch, and every tear so clearly that it becomes hard to look away. The permadeath mechanic, or at least the threat of the dark rot taking her over, adds a layer of genuine anxiety to every single fight. You find yourself gripping the controller tighter because you actually care if she survives the journey. It is a masterclass in atmosphere, using fog and shadow to hide the limitations of its budget. The environmental puzzles force you to look at the world from different perspectives, literally aligning shapes in the scenery to open doors. The ending is one of those moments that will stick with you for years, changing how you see the character. It is a difficult, heavy experience, but it is absolutely worth playing through the pain. Next up, we have Detroit: Become Human. When people say they want a game where choices matter, this is the title that actually delivers on that promise without compromise. This game isn't just a movie you play, it is a script that you are rewriting in real time with every button press. You control 3 distinct androids in a near-future society, and the way their stories weave together is nothing short of a narrative miracle. Unlike a standard film where the ending is set in stone, here a single mistake can lead to the permanent death of a main character. The game keeps moving forward even if you fail, creating a unique version of the story that belongs entirely to you. At the end of every chapter, a massive flowchart reveals just how many paths you missed, tempting you to replay it immediately. The production value is astronomical, with motion capture that translates every micro-expression of the actors perfectly. You will find yourself genuinely stressing over moral dilemmas like whether to obey an order or save a child. It tackles heavy themes of civil rights and consciousness, grounding its sci-fi setting in very human struggles. Connor's storyline, a detective hunting his own kind, plays out like a high-tech noir thriller that steals the show. Meanwhile, Kara's journey is a terrifying survival horror, and Marcus leads a grand political revolution. The interface is sleek and diegetic, keeping the screen clean of video game clutter to maintain immersion. It blurs the line between medium and message, forcing you to question what it means to be alive. It is the ultimate interactive drama, offering hundreds of possible endings based on your reflexes and your conscience. If you want to feel the weight of a director's chair, this is your chance. Coming in next, we have Cyberpunk 2077. This game hits you with a sensory overload that perfectly mimics the chaotic energy of a sci-fi blockbuster. The combat isn't just about shooting, it's about slowing down time with your cyberware and hacking enemies' eyes, creating sequences that look like they were choreographed by a stunt team. The soundtrack is aggressive and industrial, syncing perfectly with the violence to put you in a flow state. Narrative choices here aren't black and white. They are shades of gray that determine which friends show up to help you in the suicidal finale. You can literally drive a Porsche 911 through a dystopian metropolis while listening to samurai rock, which is the definition of cinematic cool. The brain dance sequences allow you to investigate crimes by scrolling through recorded memories, a mechanic that feels ripped straight from a detective thriller. It successfully transitions from quiet, tense stealth missions to explosive car chases without a single loading screen. The art direction is so strong that every screenshot looks like concept art for a movie that doesn't exist yet. The visual design of the cyberware, blades popping out of arms, eyes glowing red, adds a body horror element to the action. It allows you to direct your own action movie where the protagonist is fighting a losing battle against the world. It is stylish, loud, and unapologetically cool. And at number 6, we have A Plague Tale Requiem. This is hands down one of the most emotionally draining stories I have ever played through. It centers entirely on the bond between Amicia and her little brother Hugo, and their relationship feels incredibly real and messy. You aren't playing a superhero, you are playing a desperate sister trying to save the only family she has left. The voice acting is phenomenal, specifically the way Amicia's voice cracks when she screams in combat, which sounds genuinely terrifying. I mean, the way the game forces you to grapple with the morality of killing is fascinating. You have these beautiful moments of them playing in a field, reminding you that they are children before the world tries to crush them again. The rats are a force of nature here, feeling less like enemies and more like a natural disaster you have to survive. Using alchemy to manipulate fire feels tactile and satisfying, giving you control over the environment. The narrative doesn't shy away from the trauma they are experiencing, which makes the quieter scenes hit so much harder. You start to care about these characters so much that you hesitate to make risky moves. The ending is widely considered one of the gut punches of the decade, right? It respects the player's time by delivering a tight script with zero filler content. It is a tragedy in the classical sense, executed with modern technology. So next up we have Alan Wake 2. Okay, so Alan Wake 2 is honestly one of the weirdest pieces of media I have ever consumed. And I mean that in the best way possible. It isn't really a video game in the traditional sense. It's more like this fever dream multimedia art project. You have these seamless transitions between high-fidelity graphics and actual live-action footage that are so smooth, you forget which one you are looking at. It feels like you are binge-watching a really dark season of True Detective mixed with some David Lynch nightmare, right? The developers didn't hold back at all. There is literally a 15-minute musical sequence in the middle of a survival horror game, which sounds insane, but it totally works. You play as Saga Anderson investigating a cult, and then you switch to Alan, who is trapped in this looping dark place. The way the story folds in on itself is confusing, sure, but it respects your intelligence enough to let you figure it out. The lighting engine is probably the best I've seen this generation, making the shadows feel genuinely dangerous. You find yourself checking corners not because of a jump scare, but because the atmosphere is so heavy. It's a game that knows exactly what it wants to be, terrifying, campy, and incredibly smart. If you are looking for a standard shooter, this isn't it. But if you want something that pushes the medium forward, you have to play this. Next on the list at number 4, we have Death Stranding. It is honestly hard to explain why a game about delivering packages is this gripping, but Hideo Kojima somehow made walking feel like a boss fight. You aren't playing a superhero with infinite stamina, you are playing a blue-collar worker fighting gravity, wind, and rain. Every step requires calculation, and the simple act of climbing a mountain becomes a tense, sweaty palm experience that most action games can't replicate with 1,000 explosions. The terrain itself is the enemy here, forcing you to read the landscape like a map to survive. When the timefall rain starts, rain that rapidly ages everything it touches, the mood shifts instantly from meditative to horrifying. You find yourself holding your breath in real life as you sneak past invisible ghosts, guided only by the mechanical arm on your shoulder. The sense of relief when you finally reach a safe house and take the weight off your back is palpable. It is a game that celebrates the quiet, boring parts of an adventure that movies usually cut out. Yet, in those quiet moments, with the camera pulled back and the music swelling, it feels more cinematic than any blockbuster. It forces you to slow down and appreciate the sheer effort of movement. It is weird, punishing, and unlike anything else you will ever play. So next up, most games try to be movies, but Red Dead Redemption 2 tries to be a life simulator set in the final dying years of the Wild West. The sheer scale of the production is overwhelming, with a script that balances the grandeur of a heist movie with the intimate details of a family drama. You can spend hours just hunting, fishing, or playing poker, and it never feels like wasted time. It feels like essential character development. The lighting engine creates sunsets and misty mornings that look like oil paintings come to life, setting a mood that is unmatched. Narrative missions transition seamlessly from dialogue to shootout without a single loading screen to break the spell. The violence is sudden, heavy, and brutal, capturing the unromanticized reality of the era. It respects the player's intelligence, trusting you to follow a complex web of names and allegiances without constant reminders. The epilogue alone is longer than most full games, serving as a necessary cool-down to the intense drama that precedes it. It is a towering achievement in storytelling that pushes the boundaries of what interactive entertainment can be. It is the definitive Western experience. Coming in next, we have The Quarry. This might be the only single-player game on the list that is actually better when played with a room full of people shouting at the TV. Supermassive Games realized that horror is a communal experience, so they built an entire movie mode that lets you put the controller down and just watch the chaos unfold based on set parameters. But if you do play, the controls are simplified to ensure that your grandma or your non-gamer partner can jump in without needing to learn complex mechanics. The pacing feels exactly like a slow-burn thriller, taking its time to establish the lore of Hackett's Quarry before throwing you into the meat grinder. There is a genuine mystery here involving tarot cards and a spooky fortune teller that encourages you to explore every dark corner. The facial capture is arguably the best in the industry, allowing you to spot a lie or a moment of hesitation just by looking at a character's eyes. It's a game that thrives on the what-if scenarios, forcing you to replay chapters just to see how a different choice ripples through the timeline. The monster design is genuinely grotesque, providing a payoff that lives up to the hours of build-up. It creates an atmosphere of paranoia where you start suspecting everyone, even the people you are supposed to be saving. It serves as a perfect example of how interactive media can elevate a standard horror script into something personal. It is the ultimate Friday night popcorn entertainment. So next up we have Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. If you ever wanted to control the lead character in an Indiana Jones or Mission Impossible movie, Uncharted 4 is that dream come true. From the very first frame, Naughty Dog proves they are the masters of the cinematic action genre. The game doesn't just look like a movie, it moves like one, with camera angles that sweep dynamically to capture every near-death experience. There is a specific car chase sequence in Madagascar that honestly puts most Hollywood action directors to shame. What's incredible is how the game hides its loading times, creating a seamless, one-shot experience from start to finish. You transition from a high-fidelity cutscene directly into gameplay without even realizing you've been given control back. The set pieces are massive, loud, and visually overwhelming in the best way possible. Yet, despite the explosions and collapsing buildings, the banter between characters remains witty and sharp. It captures that perfect Saturday matinee energy where the heroes are charming even while being shot at. The pacing is expertly crafted, giving you moments to breathe before throwing you into the next disaster. It is the definition of a popcorn flick, but one where you are responsible for the stunts. Visually, it still holds up as one of the best-looking games ever made. If this game were released in theaters, it would easily make $1 billion at the box office. It is the ultimate finale to a legendary franchise.
Oh, scusi.
You're not supposed to be back here.
Well, neither are you. But I'll tell you what, I won't tell anyone.
if you don't.